I think it's a tragedy that Twitter has become the way we communicate about code and tools, and it's just insane. Okay, hello, welcome to another Kofi update. I'm a little bit late because I didn't have time to do it on Friday. So yeah, things are good. I was like in Norway, everyone has like a cabin. Either you inherit a cabin from your parents or grandparents or something, or you buy one when you reach the age of 40, 50 something. And of course, my girlfriend's parents has a cabin, and we use that. It's quite nearby. And there's actually this song by a comedy duo here in Norway. They actually made What Does the Fox Say song. So I thought I would put a link to one of their other music videos where they sing about this Norwegian cabin fever thing. It's kind of funny. But okay, let's get going and talk about some freelance. So I've been working a ton on Codesandbox the last week. I had to reprioritize a little bit because they're having a meetup because things are getting serious with Codesandbox. So I had a presentation there about like the story of state management there, because I've been heavily involved since the release of Codesandbox. And I actually also recorded a video of the presentation in case there were some technical issues, and we're trying to be as transparent as possible because the Codesandbox client is open source and Codesandbox itself is very open source. So we're trying to continue that trend when it's becoming more of a serious company. So I'll share a link to that video as well if you want to see it. But I also figured out this really cool strategy because we're refactoring the Codesandbox client again. The first time it was from Redux to Cerebral, and now it's from Cerebral to Overmind. And the question is, how do we do this transition? And one thing I figured out is that the components themselves, they actually have the same syntax, like the component definition, because currently it runs on Cerebral, which uses Mobex state tree as its state store. And Overmind uses the same approach as Mobex. Like you're just pointing to state as normal, and then the tracking is kind of like happening outside or is wrapped around the component. So yeah, what I was able to do is create this little transition hack where it's possible, as you can see here, you can load up Codesandbox with just the normal URLs, or you can add URL query of Overmind equals true. And what happens then is that it lazy loads Overmind, fires it up. It doesn't instantiate Cerebral at all. And the components actually just runs as normal. Now, of course, there are mistakes made with the refactor of the logic. There might be some issues related to some components, but those will be minor. But the really great thing is that we don't really have to think about the components, and we can even push this into production, which we're working on right now. And that means that even users of Codesandbox can try out the new version of the logic and report if there are any problems. So super happy about that strategy, and it will also allow us to, after we're kind of like done moving to Overmind, we can take one component at a time and refactor it to TypeScript and use the Overmind hook, which means there won't be any wrappers around the components, which is really, really awesome. Okay, and let's move on to the next section. Okay, in open source, I have not done much work. It's just been a busy week with Codesandbox. And yeah, I'm trying not to feel bad about it because I had some questions. I've been late at answering them. And I'm also working on this new Get Started guide for Overmind, which hasn't had any progress. But what's really nice now is that I'm actually going to test Codesandbox today. And this new guide uses Codesandbox as examples, with examples, so I can actually use the test version and work on these examples and then at the same time test Codesandbox. So yeah, hopefully that will be good. And there is a new release being prepared for Overmind. There are some new functional bits, and I found a bug in the React higher order component, which needs to be released, and the new Get Started guide. So hopefully it will be out not too long. Okay, let's move to tools and inspiration. Yes, one thing I wanted to bring up here is how much I hate Twitter. I think it's a tragedy that Twitter has become the way we communicate about code and tools, and it's just insane. Like, nobody would ever think, okay, let's make a really good tool for developers to talk about tools and code and then create Twitter. Like, it's just insane. And also their notification system, like, they have gotten so far ahead now that they're kind of like, how can we rework the notification system to get people addicted? That is why they introduce these notifications that are like, hey, did you know this person you're following said this and that? And they produce 2 of these notifications every day. And you kind of like never know if someone liked one of your own tweets, or if it's just like, you kind of like, oh, it doesn't, I really hate it. But I think it seems that someone actually thought about this, like, okay, what if we do want to create a community where people can talk about tools and code and actually have a good conversation? It's even part of their like guidelines for using the service. And this service is called dev2, so dev.2. And it's basically just, it's not like articles, but it's something between Medium and Twitter, really, which is perfect for developers. And as I said, they're kind of like, when you register, they tell you about like how do they want this community to work. It's not like throwing shit at each other and being like just a bad person. It's about encouragement and sharing ideas. And so I really like this. There's a lot happening here, so it's kind of hard to follow up on everything. But yeah, it's really, really nice. And if you're not using this service, you should just use it to support them, because we have to move away from Twitter. We have to basically just stop using it, because I don't think it helps our community at all, really. Okay, so that was a little rant on that, and I'm actually going to stop now. I'm trying to make these videos shorter, so yeah, really looking forward to this week to get this Codesandbox stuff out in production so that we can move on to the next step. And since I did so much Codesandbox last week, I have to do a bit more on the other startup, which is also moving along nicely. We have an app in test now, and it's a ton of fun working with Flutter, and I'm working on my own personal stuff, which I'm going to share soon. It's really, really cool. Really looking forward to share more on that. Okay, have a nice week, and I'll talk to you later.